All right, folks. We're going to talk about the absolute state of video games for the current year, 2018. So, my first big gripe about video games, and this isn't, surely for 2018, this is the microtransactions. And you find them everywhere. It's getting to the point, like Battlefield 2, Battlefront 2, they had way too many. It was like an integral game component which they got so much like backlash. Disney had to go and bitch at them. So like they had these cards. It's like a trading card game within there, but you got to earn points. But I think originally it was going to take like 40 hours to earn Darth Vader, which was everyone kind of wants to play as him. And it's like the level up thing. You didn't get like really experience when they first made it. It was bullshit. The game wasn't even that good either. So that was a pain in the ass. And that kind of goes along my second point. It's like loot crates. You see them everywhere. Call of Duties back, quite a long time going back. I remember Black Ops 3 had them, and there was a few of them that had like unique weapons. I think World War II, Battlefield or Battlefront, or no, Call of Duty. My bad. They're all kind of graying in my mind. They're all a little bit similar, but they have these battle crates. You see people on the beaches of Normandy just opening up like crates, gambling crates, and that's the whole thing too. It's just kind of like gambling aimed at mostly kids. Oh, but it's 18, you're supposed to be 18 years old. No one listens to those. It's like when you go onto one of them porn sites and you're a little kid, it's like, oh, you're 18 years old. Yes, I am. It says the kid who has like one pube. Most major games have them these days, like even single player games. That's what really pisses me off. I think there's an Assassin's Creed game out. Like, it was one of the... I stopped playing them after, like, the third one. But I don't know if it was... Maybe in the one after Black Flag. I think they had, like, loot crates in there, or, like, microtransactions to access single-player content. I think Dragon Age, 2 had these, which, that's bullshit. Why do you need to... and this was, like, day one DLC. That's what really pisses me off. When you make a game, you shouldn't have day one DLC in mind.
That just shows that your game's incomplete. And what's worse, and add even more insult to injury, is when they have paid day one DLC. Like, sometimes they'll have free. Like, I remember...
No, that's the thing. If it's free DLC, that's one thing. I don't really care about that. But if it's paid day one DLC, they're basically extorting you.
Yeah.
Oh, you already bought this product. You spent $60 on this, piece of electronic software. All right, we're going to make you put another, $15 on day one, and then you can buy the season pass. And that's another thing that pisses me off, the season pass. So on top of your $60 fee, you pay an extra $45 to go and access the whole game that back in the day, you'd expect to get this from day one for the most part. You'd expect to get this content, especially for these games that might only have good 6 multiplayer maps. And then when you have the DLC, it's 12 extra ones. And then it does a really annoying thing too, because once you have that, it kind of creates this little floodgate. They're the people who actually bought the DLC expansion pack, the major pack to the season pass, and those who didn't. Mm-hmm. Why do we need a season pass when you already paid for a game? It should come with that. If they're gonna have a season pass, make it so that's when you buy a physical copy, you get the season pass with it to make sure people don't just go buy it from GameStop or something. I could understand that, but for this, this is way too much. And especially these days when most games are being bought on through a service, either through Xbox or PlayStation or Steam or good old games. They need to have they don't need that, because it's a lot cheaper to go and sell them that way when it's online distributors. Especially first party games for Microsoft. They if it was a Microsoft made game, you shouldn't expect to have. I wouldn't want to have any DLC in there, because they own the software their own store if you buy it online. So why do we need that?
Yeah.
Forza 5, that's another good example. That's a first party game for the Xbox, and I got that, and it only had 100 cars in it. That's bullshit. Forza 4 had 400 cars. When you bought the game new from GameStop or wherever the heck you bought it from. But then Forza 5, you had 100 of them, and then there's an extra 400 that you'd either have to go and buy individually, which would be expensive, or you'd have to go and pay for the season pass, which is expensive. When you spend money you spend good money on these consoles. Like an Xbox One, especially back then, it probably would have been like $500-$600 for this console. And then you get like Forza with it or something, and then you have to go and spend another $45 on the season pass. That's unacceptable to me. That really grinds my gears. It pisses me off. There's no real reason why I think they need to do that. And you see, like, just like these AAA games, they're just really pissing me off lately because there's so little like innovation in many of them. And like especially take a look at Call of Duty. Like they really barely change things up, and when they do, it's like they go back in time. They remove like stuff. Like Call of Duty World War II is just like what was it? The Worlds at War, but like it was worse.
Yeah.
Honestly, I just didn't like it. And they try to go and change up the pick 10 system, so it's like they have classes now. But that was the whole thing with like create a class. You got rid of those, so now you're getting classes back. It's like Battlefield sort of thing. And even Battlefield now, I think they're like being more flexible with that stuff.
Oh,
so
Battlefield 5 is doing quite a bit of innovation in terms of stuff they're changing. Like,
well,
they've always had like the destructible environments being a recent thing, but like they're doing like a whole bunch of new games, not maps, but like gameplay options. They're interesting and different. I forget all the specifics because it's been a while since E3, but they also like I remember they said on stage like they said like no loot crates. Everybody cheered. It's like Jesus, like that's gotta be like something that gets people excited is when you say no loot crates now. Because like when they did that in Battlefront 2, for people to understand, it's like they're basically setting it up in a way where you either had to do a shit ton of gameplay to get a loot crate, 30, 40 hours or whatever it was, get one character, or you'd buy it.
Get one character.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, that was the other thing. It was a chance.
They changed it. Like you had to go. Well, one I think they changed it so now it's not a loot crate, but like you had to go and pay credits in the game to unlock the characters.
Well, they got rid of the loot crate system everybody hated, and they didn't. You didn't have to. They got rid of the option to pay for stuff too, so people didn't.
No, they brought it back. I think.
Really?
I think that was just temporary. When like they said it was just temporary. I haven't played that game since then because it was so like stupid to progress in that game. I think they brought it back or they added crystals or some bullshit like that.
Well, I remember they at one point removed the pay option so that people wouldn't have an edge in the game because they paid for stuff. But I remember they also right when the controversy was happening, like one thing they changed was they're like, oh, we're gonna lower the credit or credits or whatever the currency was that you need to get these loot crates and to try to unlock a character. But what they also changed was the amount you got in terms of rewards. You got less credits or whatever currency was used to unlock the loot crate and unlock the character. Like it's just jerking you around each way. And this all sort of connects to our larger point we're making here is that they're just trying to nickel and dime you like endlessly. And sometimes there's always those stupid microtransactions that give you like, a gun or a weapon that's like God mode and that has a complete edge over everybody, makes the game an over OP'd weapon that makes the playing field totally unlevel. But it's just stupid because you are already paying $60. Like that's a lot of money, for one game. And I remember when games used to be like $40 or $50, and that was like a big deal. But like now they're $60, and you're not even giving us the full package. You're still nickel and diming. It's like for aesthetic stuff, like okay, microtransactions are perfectly fine with that. But in terms of core gameplay, no, they're not fine for me.
Like the original Battlefront 2 was more fun. Like it looked like shit compared to this, but it was more of a fun game than the current one. Like I played it like for maybe a month because I spent $60 and I wanted to justify myself paying that much money for a freaking game. And there's just no point in doing that anymore. Like it's bullshit. I should have done some more. Like I should have looked at some more reviews. This is like the last time I buy a game, like when it comes out relatively soon. I should have looked more into that. And at least these days, that's one good thing I guess is like they stopped doing as much pre-order bonuses. I think. Because I
Yeah.
know a few years ago they used to be like a big thing, but now it's not as big. But they still do have these like, oh, you can pre-order and you get like these character skins. But that's fine. I'm fine with stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
Same.
like, this was getting ridiculous. But like the worst offender, I think, with like microtransactions, and they're not even microtransactions, is Star Citizen. Like they have spaceships in that game, which costs like hundreds, thousands of dollars, I believe. But that's like just crazy amounts of money for these ships.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's like there's the list of ship prices. They have some on there. I can see if I can do it by the fucking pledge cost. They have like one on there like for like a $2,500, $3,000 Javelin ship. $3,000. You can buy a used. I bought like cars cheaper than that. Like not brand new, but I bought like I don't think I've ever paid more than like $6,000 for a car. And like my first car I got for $2,500. This is as much as it costed me for my first car, if not more. And this was the what's that? The pledge cost, and the original pledge cost was cheaper. Like it's and that game is still not even released. It got like I think on Kickstarter like was like almost like 5 years ago or something. It's been in development for such a long time. People put good money down on these freaking things. Like that's ridiculous. And the cheapest one is $20, but like it's for an in-game item. Like no, we don't need like that. That's even more than microtransactions. That's like a legitimate, major transaction on a frickin' virtual ship that you will never like physically touch. For a virtual in-game ship, that's bullshit in my opinion. But you know what else is bullshit? It's the social justice influence that's going into the games. And I thought we had like a war over that. We had the fucking
Gamergate,
to try to get some of this crap out of here, but it's still there, if not worse. And the first thing we have, like in Battlefield 5, they have like this bionic commando, like disabled woman who's like on their thing, and she has like a robot arm, and it's just like
in fucking World War II.
Like if this was some like diesel punk or steampunk fiction world, I can understand that. But when you want to go and say it's World War II in a semi-historical setting, you want it to be somewhat realistic, and you have bionic female frontline combatants in the trailer. Like they didn't have arms like that in World War II. Like
No.
I don't, and especially if they're not going to have a disabled woman like that in frontline combat. That doesn't make any sense. That's bullshit, but I'll give Battlefield 5, at least it looks somewhat fun to play. Call of Duty World War II, they were even worse. I think they had like no swastikas when they had the Nazi flag. They had like no swastikas in the Nazis.
God.
And that was just bullshit. The complete historical revisionism, and this is going on in real life too. You see them like tearing up statues and stuff, but like when you display the Nazis, they have a swat. That's part of the thing. It's like having a French guy without the French flag or like a white flag, it's unrealistic. And then like a black female Nazi character, you could be a black female Nazi. Like that I don't think I've ever heard of that before. Like, they're usually...
Ooh, the Fourth Reich is very progressive.
Like, they're making the Nazis have to be progressive, and that's like very, that's actually pretty offensive to like the people who've been killed by Nazis when you start seeing... Like a social, it's pretty funny though, because it is like they are Nazis, like the left, like they're so much in their ideology. They've created like their sort of ideological version of the Nazis. It's like the in Star Wars when they had like the black guy be the stormtrooper when the stormtroopers were based off the Nazis and that wouldn't fly, at least.
Or when fucking Star Wars changes the rules, and spoiler alert, in The Last Jedi has spaceships weaponize fucking hyperspace. Like now, Call of Duty's like, hey, the Nazis are. I bet in Call of Duty World War II, the Nazis have bumper stickers on their tanks that say "Diversity is our strength." Like they're literally trying to make the Nazis diverse.
Like that's the whole point. They're not diverse, and really, not very many units were like you might have like a all black unit in like World War II, but like
that's it, and they were rare. And that was that's why
maybe there was one like group that could have been mixed up for a small time. I don't know. There probably wasn't.
Well, there was the Tuskegee Airmen that was like an all black, Air Squad, but
Yeah.
like that's like one of and they were a big deal because it was like one of the only ones, and like you could have that in Call of Duty. Like Call of Duty is technically tries to be far more historically tries. It's an important word here to be far more historically accurate than Battlefield. So for them to do this is like outrageous and stupid, and just trying to like hide something that everybody knows.
Well,
And
yeah, like, at least for the mainline games, like the Black Ops stuff, that's its own thing. But like,
yeah, and
if
that's
you're going to
fine.
be a historic Call of Duty game, like one set in a realistic setting, you're not going to have black female Nazis. Like that didn't fly in Worlds at War. Why they need to go put in there now? Like Worlds at War was an amazing game. I love World at War. You know, they had a bunch of bugs in there, but you know, it was a fun game, and I like messing around with the bugs and going under the map and just like shooting at people and you know, being a dickhead. That was fun. But like this, it was like I played the demo for it, and it was just kind of bullshit. Like I didn't think they had that many guns in there as they should have. Like they had a lot of guns in World War II to choose from. You know, there's more guns I think in Worlds at War. I think there's more like weapons in there than in Call of Duty World War II, which didn't make any sense. So they probably released more now, but I just refused to play that game because it wasn't even all that fun. I got bored of it.
Yeah.
And then they like the kill streaks in that game were just like god awfully terrible. Like you had to go and like work your ass off to get like this like airstrike thing, but like it was shitty. And no, like the whole thing was just bullshit. And they had classes back, but that like the whole thing of Call of Duty is it didn't have classes. You made your own class.
That was such a Battlefield thing.
Yeah, it's like, you know, that's what separates it from like, you know, Team Fortress and Battlefield and stuff like that. But speaking of Battlefield 1, you know, there's a bunch of things that, like the social justice, they had like mixed race squads. Like half the time you spawn in with like, you eat some like black guy in like a squad with like a white guy in there. That would not have happened in World War I.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, there was some black people involved in it, but I don't think they were, you know, it wasn't like mixed race. Like they didn't have mixed in the squads. It would have been just a black squad. Like, you know, if you want to go and make a game that's progressive, set it in the modern era, set it in the future. You know, people would probably love for you to go and remake Battlefield like 2142 or whatever, and then you could have transgender robots and like bisexual, like black, like aliens in there, but like
illegal aliens.
You could have like an undocumented soldier in that game if you wanted to. You could do whatever you want to in like the future, but when it's the past, you're limiting yourself. Like if you want to do this like creative canvas stuff, you know, go ahead. And another thing that pissed me off Battlefield 1 was like they had like, I mean, I guess they kind of had to go and change things up because the guns were kind of boring in World War 1. Like you can go and play Verdun, I guess if you want super like historical accuracy and like damage shit for guns, but like I don't know, it pissed me off because they had like these guns in there that they literally made like one of like the Hellriegel. There was like a picture of one. That's the only thing like left. I think it was just a prototype, and they put it in there. And like the machine guns felt like useless, but they were like one of the main killers in World War I. And it just was like an arcade game. It wasn't even like realistic at all. Like it was just such bullshit with the weapon damage with like the heavy machine guns and stuff. And you carry around these machine guns, which you would not physically be able to carry around and like shoot from the hip. There was like, I think maybe 2 like light machine guns that you could really do that with.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and it honestly kind of sucked. Like the bar was just shitty in that game, but it would have been one of the best. Like look at the difference between Verdun, where that was actually a useful gun, even though you could barely see out the sights. And then, like, look at Battlefield 1, where it's just, like, a shitty machine gun that only had, like, a 20-round capacity because you could carry around a heavy machine gun, just let it go when you're walking. That doesn't make no sense.
Yeah.
You know, that's just some bullshit. And, like, indie games, they're, you know, before I get to that, actually, another thing I kind of remembered, old school RuneScape. You know, they had a social justice influence in there where they had, like, this gay pride event in there. And RuneScape, in a game where you can't even say gay without, like, it would be, like, X'd out if you have the word filter on. And they had a gay pride event in, like, medieval Guylenor. Like, no.
Yeah, because people, gay pride parades were the shit back in the medieval times.
Right, I mean, it's a fantasy setting, but, like, it doesn't make any sense when you can't even say the word gay.
Yeah.
Like, why do we need to go and put that in RuneScape? Like, there's no need for that, you know? And the thing is, the people in old school RuneScape, they like flipped the fuck out over them like changing it so that doors were always open. Like, and they vetoed that, but they never even put the gay pride event as a votable event. Like, if they would have done that,
The
there's a
issues that
process.
matter.
But they completely ignored that, and they just started like being complete dicks to the players who had a problem with it because they don't want to see these like politics and stuff, this gender stuff, put into a game made out of like clay characters.
Yeah, well, because the thing is as Gavin McGinnis says, there's two people in politics: people that want to be left the fuck alone, and people that won't leave you the fuck alone. And gamers are a type of people that just want to be left the fuck alone. They just want to play their video games and be left in peace, you know. And then you have these people in the gaming industries that don't want to leave them alone, so they're cramming stuff down their throats. Like, you have to, you know, have this, you have to get this, and especially with something like RuneScape where everything's votable, and you force something on them, like that kind of goes against your whole, you know, purpose or principle in the game. And you know, it takes, you know, not only does this take people out of the experience, but like it gets the community outraged and all that. But that's the problem, you know, with the social justice being thrown into Call of Duty and Battlefield, is that it takes you out of the experience. Like, because people are probably going to be saying, you know, why are you so, you know, bitchy and worried about the historical accuracy? It's a video game, or you know, some people always argue like Battlefield's always been like this. Yeah, but not to this extent. And the problem with that is that, you know, you're playing a video game. You know some things are going to be a little, you know, the rules are going to be flexed a bit and the accuracy is going to be flexed. It's like a movie. When you watch, you know, Lawrence of Arabia or Saving Private Ryan or anything like that, you know it's not 100% historically accurate. Like, they do take some liberties to make it, you know, thematic, or to make it like a video game in this case. And that makes sense. But when you go to a certain length, it pulls you out of the experience. And, you know, because that's what the game is. It's supposed to immerse you in this other time, you know, the 1940s or whatever, and to sort of, you know, fully submerge you in it. And when you take that away, it takes away the effect and the experience, you know, and it ruins it.
Well, yeah, there's no point, like, there's no value added when you have, like, you know, some gay flag in RuneScape. Like, you know, they don't have all these other flags. You don't have, like, you know, Black Pride flags in RuneScape. And please don't do that, Jagex. I don't want to see that in RuneScape. Like, we don't need that politics in the video game. Just let people do video game. Like, they have their own internal politics, you know? They had, like, events before with, like, you know, the Goblin one. With, like, the cave goblins, they had this, like, you know, that was, like, an allusion to the KKK with the hand people. And if you want to do stuff like that, like, yeah, that was an actual thing. Like, the quest, Death to the Dork Show, they literally go around, like, pink robes. And they go and, like, kill goblins, and it's, like, an allegory for, like, the black people.
See, but an allegory's fine, because it's subtle. Like, it's not, you know, obvious and literal. That's, like, the point of an allegory, and that's what's interesting about it. Like, you know, but, you know, like, I remember, like, even what was pretty funny was, like, in reaction to the gay pride thing, like, a bunch of trolls got on RuneScape and, like, dressed as Klansmen and started, like, marching with, you know, against the gay pride thing. Like, obviously I don't, you know, I don't like the KKK at all. They're awful, terrible people, like, the scum of the earth, but it's obviously a trolly thing. Like, none of those people were actual Klansmen or actual, like, supporters of it. Like, they're just doing it to fuck back with Jagex or whoever makes it.
Yeah, like, you know, they just don't need that in RuneScape. Like, you can go and do, like, you know, if they did, like, an allegory, it'd be fine, but I don't know why we even need that. We don't need to have this in RuneScape. Like, if you want to be gay, you can be a gay, you know, you can say you're gay, you can talk about it.
But you can't, apparently.
The word filter off, you can. You can say you suck dick on there, and they won't censor it if you turn the word filter off. Thank God.
Yeah.
You can actually curse now. And back in the day, you'd have to, like, you know, do spaces and all this other crap. But,
yeah,
like,
I remember that.
They don't really, like, need to have this pushed by the administration. Like, you know, there was never, like, a big, you know, people, like, killing other people for being gay on there. Like, if that just didn't happen. And maybe, like, maybe a couple of trolls did, but it wasn't, like, a huge issue. And the only time it was an issue is when you guys pushed it on people. And they just, you know, that's the thing with the media, too. Like, I think we need to want them, like, a state of movies, because that's definitely, you know, they're pushing politics and stuff in there. But that just pisses me off because it seems like every game, especially like these indie games, all like pretty much like 3/4 of indie games are pushing some like social justice narrative. Like the big one I can think of is like Gone Home, which was like an utter piece of crap, and the only thing like people started praising it, the game magazines and the game review sites were like, "Oh, this was so progressive." So it was like I think the person Gone Home, she like went. I think it was like this walking simulator sort of game. You just
no, was she
things.
raped?
No, like her sister was a lesbian or something. That was like the whole thing. You could literally beat the game in like 4 minutes, but like, and it was like some like modern art crap game.
Oh, fucking pretentious shit like that.
Yeah, it's like one of those pretentious art games. Like, why is and this got like 94% off of these like game journal websites. Like, do we really need that in this game world?
Yeah.
Do we really need to have like these gay and like pushing so much political crap in there? And there's like I think there was like one guy like E3 or something. He had like this one game that was gonna like push against communism. And he got like so much shit for that.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like some steampunk game that was like railing against communism. And he got like blacklisted for that shit. But like you have a game about like some gay bisexual like time traveler. You'll get like 5 out of 5 reviews, even if you just do nothing but walk around.
Well,
and,
it was like in that. I remember I was watching the IGN review for Call of Duty World War II, and the person that was doing the review of the video said, and you can play as multiple genders or something. She said, and people in the comments were ripping her up, and they were it got disliked like so much so I think that it was more than the likes. Like people were like going and laying into her, and the problem with this is that people forget is that it's not that the people that are bitching about these things, like let's take the gay pride parade in RuneScape for example, or this one with the lesbian. It's not that people hate gays or that they're anti-gay or that they don't want gay marriage. Like I know some of these things are a little controversial, but by and large, society is perfectly fine with gay people. The problem they have is when you force things on them, when you say, you have to accept this, you have to like this, and you have to, experience this in some way. It's like, no, we don't need to force that on us. We're perfectly fine with accepting them, and we're perfectly fine with their existence. We don't want to throw them off of buildings like some people in the Middle East. But when you do this stuff, you then create a reaction to that. This action has a reaction. And then you do get some people that may become more anti-gay than they actually would be. So they're almost counterproductive in their goals of making people more accepting and tolerant of, for example, gay people, and they actually make them more intolerant. They don't understand this. They don't understand that people just don't like things forced on them, especially things that are not normal.
Oh, and another thing too that pisses me off is like kind of going off the social justice rant, but it's so related because it's like feminists. They're trying to go and like shame the shit out of people like Dead or Alive 5, which is I don't know if you are familiar with that series. It's basically
the zombie thing.
No, it's like scantily clad like women like fighting game, but then they have like a beach volleyball version. And the developer got so much shit by the feminists in America, they had to go and like tune down the like jiggly boobs and stuff like that because like people got offended. Like
what?
I don't see them going to the strip clubs and like the feminists going in there and like demanding that they like not strip or like allow trans strippers or something.
Yeah, you don't see them protesting Stormy Daniels' behavior at strip clubs.
Yeah, that's true. Like, but they'll go in the video games and they tried to go and get dating simulators banned from Steam because it was like offensive to feminists because you like can have sex with people or something or date people, and they always throw like a bitch fit about like Grand Theft Auto, and it's just like. Can you just let people play their games in peace? But, another thing that pisses me off in general about games recently is this Battle Royale, like, phenomenon. It's just, like, become a theme. Like, it was a meme. Like, PUBG, and they had Fortnite, and, that's fine. Those two games are fine. I don't really like Fortnite, though, because it's just, like, there's so much fucking like weapon bloom with it, like, and that's just a whole meme in itself, like fucking weapon bloom. You aim at someone, and you know the thing lines up. It should go where it goes, but like call like Halo Reach was really bad with this because like when you aimed at people, it won't go directly where the gun was aimed at the bullet. No, it'd go like potentially go in this like little radius, and then Fortnite's really bad with that. And like they started to go and do that with like Halo, and that's just like Halo. I think they started actually taking up with like Fortnite. It's just bullshit. That's why I don't even like it. One of the reasons. But like now this battle royale mode is going everywhere. It's not even just Fortnite, PUBG, and like Arma or like whatever games it originated on. Now they need it in fucking RuneScape. There was a mode in there that was a battle royale mode. I think it was Last Man Standing or like Dead Man.
Yeah.
And like it was, why do we need that in RuneScape? Like no, that's just bullshit. That's beyond ridiculous.
Yeah.
And now
yeah. I was just about to say it, but keep going.
Yeah, but now Call of Duty and Battlefield are playing into this as well. Like, they both have battle royale modes. Like, why do we need that in Call of Duty? Like, I honestly don't even like that game mode. It's it's kind of like, oh, it's cool, but like they have games dedicated to this. Why do we need to go put this in Call of Duty and Battlefield? Like, why both of them too? It's just like, oh, I see you kids like this thing, so we're going to put this in here. It's like the guy who made the fidget spinner phone. It's like probably some old boomer who's like, oh, this sounds like, I bet all the kids dig this stuff. And, no, it's just a force meme. Please, stop doing that.
You just compared fucking Battle Royale to fidget spinners.
They have a fidget spinner phone. I see advertisements for it. Someone made a cell phone. It's a fidget spinner. And it's like one of them shitty flip phone sort of things. I don't know how they're going to make any money off that. But anyways, another thing that pisses me off is like games.
Can I comment on the Battle Royale? Yeah, I wanted to say that it's become it's one of those things that's like a trendy thing, and now everybody's doing it. I can kind of understand Call of Duty and Battlefield, like, somebody pitching it, saying like this would be a cool thing in our game, because they obviously have better graphics and all kinds of guns and gameplay and all yada yada yada. But it's one of those things I think is going to die out, and it may always be in their games. Like I'm not going to lie, I've only played PUBG like a few times when I was at a friend's place, and I have not played Fortnite, so I don't have the best,
It's the social justice version of that, pretty much. It's like, oh look, God. We have like this woman who may or may not be, could be a lesbian with like purple hair as like the main thing on here. Ooh, look how progressive we are. And there's like a black dude and a robot. Oh, well, I mean, it's not that there's anything wrong with that, but like it just seems like it's being forced, but that's their thing. They can do it. But like it's just going everywhere. Like, and I think Call of Duty, they're taking on the story mode to go and put in a frickin' battle royale.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that is what I was gonna mention. Is that when you remove core features that everybody loves, like campaign or story stuff that takes actual work and creativity and writing skills and talent to make, and you just put a battle royale, and it probably took you guys like a few. Maybe you add a map or two, but like and adjusted some things, but it doesn't take much really to add that. It just feels sort of cheapened, and sort of, the product just feels cheapened. But like I said, I think the game mode, like I said, it is a cool idea because you're kind of like on your own, and you're fending for yourself, and you gotta think smart about things, and it's, it can be pretty strategic. But again, it's like I said, it's just a forced meme. I'd have to play to give my final verdict, but at the moment, it's just a forced meme.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel like it has any real need there. And then, like, another thing that's pissing me off, too, is, like, incomplete games. Like, these days, when you buy a game, 9 out of 10 times it's not even, like, complete on the ground up. Like, the big one with this is Destiny 1 and 2. Like, Destiny 1, I was like, oh, this is supposed to be like Halo. And then I played it, and I beat it, like, the story mode in there within, like, a day or two. And then it's just, like, going on these raids. And I didn't think I had raids at the beginning. You had to go and, like, wait for the first expansion pack, I think, or, like, wait a couple months for the first raid to drop. And then, like, they were missing so many features. And, like, by the time, because I got the season pass for it. And this game really pissed me off because I bought a season pass and that didn't even give me all the DLC. There was, like, extra DLC added to it that was not included in my season pass. Yeah. So I had to go, like, I stopped playing. I was, like, pissed off. But, like, it was incomplete. Like, by the time that the first expansion pack was like the wolf There was like some sort of wolf thing, like Iron Wolf or whatever the hell they called it, like the last expansion I played. And like by that time, if that would have released like that, it would have been a good game. But like it took it like I think like 6 months or like 9 months for it to get to that point. And I heard Destiny 2 is just as bad, if not worse. Like Destiny 1 had more content than Destiny 2 did on like day one. Like, that's just bullshit. Star Citizen, another good example. That game's been in production or like pre-release for like 5 or 6 years, and it's still not released yet. It's still buggy as shit. They still have all sorts of issues with it. Battlefront 1 and 2, 1 especially, because I don't even think they had like a story mode when it first dropped, which is ridiculous.
They had no story, and they only had, I think, 4 maps or 4 planets. Whereas the first 2 original Battlefronts had maybe like 20 or more. Like there was so much you could do, and it got, from what I heard, the first one got so boring so quickly. Just Endor, Tatooine, Hoth, and I think that's it. It might have just been 3. I don't even know what the 4th one was. Oh, it was like that volcanic planet from the sequel trilogy.
Yeah.
That's it. Like there's no content there. You're paying $60 and you get 4 maps. It's like, what's that?
Yeah, get better deals from the original Battlefield game or Battlefront games. Yeah. So that's shit. Like, why did they just stop making games that were complete? And like same thing, like No Man's Sky. That's probably like the one of the century. Like when that game dropped, it was such a meme. It was so terrible. Like it was just like it was promised like the whole world, and what they got was like, oh, they don't really have multiplayer in it, like that we would think of as multiplayer.
Yeah.
And like it was boring as shit. And like just now they're starting to make it like decent, like somewhat playable. Like months and months after the game was released, if not like I don't even know when the hell that was released. I'm glad I didn't buy that game though. But like it was just so broken when it came out. Like, come on, guys. That's not acceptable. Like, why did we ever get to the point where we found these sort of games acceptable? Because, like, every AAA game, it seems, does this. And that's why I have expansion packs. Yeah. Because they don't release the games that are complete these days. Like, no, like, at least not from AAAs for the most part. And another issue, too, is, like, speaking of incomplete games, like, I think Halo 5, they got rid of, it was Halo 5, they didn't have couch co-op. Like, there's very few games these days in general that like have couch co-op as any sort of fun feature. The last good couch co-op game I think I played was Super Smash Brothers for the Wii U. That was the only real decent game with couch co-op, and if they do have another ones, it's like shitty and like laggy. Like, and I think they do that because they want you to go and play it on, so you have to go and buy 2 copies.
Oh, yeah.
This, of course, is a money thing. It's just like, how many games these days have couch co-op? Like, none. Like, when Civ 5 first came out, they didn't even have hot seat mode for it on the same thing, on your same computer. And that was like a staple of the series. My friend used to do that all the time with like Civ 4. Then when Civ 5 dropped, they didn't have that. And that's like a core gameplay feature. And, just another sort of a trend recently is they're getting rid of like physical game copies and like, starting to go and do a lot of these online distribution, which I have mixed feelings about. On the one hand, it's kind of cool because like you don't have to worry about finding your game discs. You can save multiple games to the hard drive. But on the other hand, like 10 years from now, let's say you boot up your Xbox and you don't have your old account, you're screwed. All those games you spent like hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on, and like hours and hours like getting them up, they're gone.
Yeah.
And like if that Xbox ever goes defunct, and you save them to the cloud, then you're screwed. And then on top of that, they have games like SimCity, that like the new one, where they have always on multiplayer. Like a lot of these games might not even, and that didn't even really need it. Like I don't think they should, like, unless it's like an MMO game, they really don't need or like Destiny. Yeah, I can understand why they have always on multiplayer, but they don't I don't think they should really have that. And like the last big thing is like mobile games, and they're like really.
Before we go on to that, I was going to add that the problem. This is also where they're getting sort of a gateway to make incomplete games, is because when stuff is online, well, they just go, oh, don't worry, we'll release a patch or bug fix. We'll send it out and you can download it. It's like, well, that's nice that you're fixing it, but it shouldn't have been broken to begin with. And that's what they're doing with all these online, like you can buy through Origin or all these things or the Microsoft Store or whatever, and you get these games. online, which I like in terms of like I can play it anywhere, I can download it on anywhere because it's on my account. But like you said, in 10 years, what if you forget your password? But more or less is that they're using this to make you download more crap. Download patches. They can get away with giving you a broken game that has bugs and all kinds of crap, and people keep paying for it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, see, if I lost my Steam library, no, I'd be fucked because I have like so many games on there. And if I like lost access to my Steam account for whatever reason, I'd be completely screwed. I'd have like no real way to go and get them back. Even though I like download these games to my hard drive, I wouldn't even be able to go and play them. And like, I think this is some form of DRM, which I guess is better than like having to go and read through and like have other software installed on your computer. But even then, it gets you're going to lose them at some point. Like they had collectible games, back in the day, and nowadays they're not going to be collectible because they require like day one patches and all this stuff. Like I think having games always online makes people lazier because now they release an unfinished product. They have like yearly releases for games like Call of Duty's a big one. Like Assassin's Creed for a while they were on that. I think they've been better recently. I haven't played them since the third one.
Yeah, Origins has been pretty good.
And that was like the last decent one was like the third one that I played. But like, it's just like a terrible sort of like trend. And then just in general, like, another trend that just kind of makes me sad is like mobile games, like 9 out of 10 of them are just like terrible and completely microtransaction, like major gameplay microtransaction, like based. Like all of them, and they're all terrible. They could be fun games. Like I'd rather just play like if they release like old games like emulators and stuff. Like for even first party ones, if Nintendo released them onto the phone, I would pay like $20 if I got like a good game, like an emulated game on my phone instead of like these crappy games they got now, which are just like it's not even fun to go and play. And they all have like this Facebook integration, and they're all just pretty terrible. And it's like, oh, you need to go and like get more tokens, like that. It's just like I'm playing this one game. I forget the name of it. It was some like trivia sort of thing where like you had to go and beat someone else at asking like they'll ask questions and like name words. It has like a question like how many what's the like list a bunch of like girls' names to start with the letter B. But then they have these like cheats on there, and you can go and use them. It's like completely game breaking because you could just go and pay money for it and win. So there's no point of even playing them, and that just pisses me off. And like if you have a kid and they see these games, they're not even that fun to begin with. Like they're terrible. They have the hardware on these like phones where they could run like pretty decent games.
Oh yeah.
But no, they don't release them by and large. I haven't seen any good games like released on the phones. And like ever.
Well,
they've never really released any good phone games, and they had the opportunity to.
I think if you're on iOS, there's definitely quite a lot of actually well-designed games in terms of aesthetics and graphics. And I'm not just talking about the high-detailed stuff, because like I think Infinity Blade was one of those was high-detailed, and I think either the people that make Elder Scrolls or there is an Elder Scrolls game that's coming out on iOS. It looks pretty awesome. But even like stuff that's like that's 2D and sort of stylized stuff can be pretty cool and pretty neat to play. And I've done a few of those. Like I think one I was playing recently was called Ava, and it was like this sort of flight thing. I got kind of bored with the actual gameplay, but it looked pretty. And there are some other pretty stuff that I just hadn't played because you had to pay money for it. And that's one of the other things is like a lot of these mobile games, like I just don't want to buy them. Like I don't feel I know a lot of them are real cheap, so I don't want to sound like a cheapskate here, but it's just like I don't see the value in terms of buying an app that I might play a few times but probably never play again because I just generally don't have time to do gaming much anymore because I'm just so busy with all kinds of stuff. But I do understand what you're saying in the sense that a lot of them suck because none of them really do get that sort of buzz that in terms of like a Call of Duty, like Angry Birds was a big deal, Plants vs Zombies, stuff like that, Fruit Ninja, but that stuff, that's kind of like the old school classic stuff, I guess you could say of mobile gaming. And I know a lot of people that play that, and we talk about, but like I'll take Plants vs Zombie. Like the first one had no microtransactions that I can remember. The second one actually handled microtransactions well, in the sense that you could unlock everything and do everything for free, and you could download the game for free and all that. But if you want to like advance to stuff quickly or do stuff quickly or unlock a world, you could use a microtransaction. But you didn't need to do it, and that was what was cool about that. But mobile games, I see a potential for, and you can get really creative with them. And the two examples I'll bring up is Heads Up and Pokemon Go. Heads Up, I remember playing that in high school. A lot of friends. It was really fun because it was interactive in the sense that you interacted with the person and not really the phone. And the phone was obviously an important part of it. And that's the game, but you were still interacting with the person. Trying to guess whatever the thing was. That was cool. That was fun. Pokemon Go, which I actually didn't play. I still haven't played it to this day, but I might try at one point. I mean, it's kind of a dead meme at this point, but when that came out, for a few weeks or months in that summer of 2 years ago, it was a phenomenon because people were actually going outside, looking at the world, and catching Pokemon, through the augmented reality that the app created. Which again, that was a creative, cool thing. It was a quick little meme that lasted a few weeks to a month, but it's because Nintendo's kind of stupid, and they don't seem to adapt. I know
No. Here's the thing. They gave it out to a third-party developer who made another game kind of similar. And the thing with Pokemon Go, the problem is you couldn't actually like fight your Pokemon like you would traditionally. You couldn't go up to another trainer and trade the Pokemon.
Oh.
And like have them actually like do a legit Pokemon fight. Like have it like the Pokemon games where you get like the move sets or whatever, and like or maybe do something else. Like the only way you can have them fight is when you go to the gym, and like that's bullshit. Now apparently they update it so like you can trade them now, but they have to go and like pay money or something.
Oh, that's stupid.
Or like earn these points. It's just like, why would you want to do that? And like depends on the rarity of the Pokemon too. It's just like not even fun when they do stuff like that.
See, and what they could have done is like the first launch was just what the Pokemon Go that we all know, which is you go out and collect Pokemon. And maybe in like 2 months, right when it was about to die, they could have released an update where you could trade your Pokemons and fight them with people, like you were saying, like classic Pokemon games, and then that would have kept it going for a while. Like I just don't understand their strategy in the whole thing. It's almost like they had this good idea, and they executed it pretty well, but then they did nothing else with it. Like they just stopped caring about it. Like it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, I don't know what it is. If it's the Nintendo oversight or the third party that they handed it to.
It's Niantic that fucked it up.
Okay. Yeah, and it's just like, why? It's frustrating because like you could see a good concept there that just didn't get enough fuel. And I mean, part of that's because like things die out quickly today. But I don't know. It's one of those things that I don't know how I could entirely fix. I'm trying to figure out solutions to a lot of these problems we're mentioning. But that's another problem to state of gaming is that it's become stale. I mean, if you want, the absolute state of gaming is stale right now. I mean, Battlefield 5 had some cool stuff I saw. I remember when we were watching the E3 video where, like, you could move some of the weaponry around, the vehicles could, like, tow, big guns, gunners around, and you could rebuild, objects that were destroyed. Like, that's some cool, innovative stuff that nobody's done before. But, like, beyond that, like, nothing interesting's really happened. I mean, I think the last real interesting thing was the Wii. And that was interesting for quite a while, but Nintendo was stupid and didn't give it good graphics. And, it was, it was cool, but, no AAA games were on it. And I think that's the problem, is that they're relying on trends right now, and, the trends aren't really that interesting. Like, Fortnite is the biggest thing in a while. Pokemon Go is the biggest thing in a while, but it's just not. I mean, I don't want to sound like somebody that's like, oh, back in my day, games were better, but they honestly were. They
released complete games. They didn't put politics in them. You didn't have to worry about no online stuff, so no microtransactions. Like, some of the games may have been a little bit more. But even then, like modern games are more buggy, to be honest. But,
yeah.
Like, and like the Xbox and like the PlayStation, like there's barely any differences between the two of them. And then
Yeah.
like the only one that like changes anything up is Nintendo with the Switch and the Wii U. The Wii U was a disaster, but the Switch is
Yeah.
actually doing pretty good.
Yeah.
But like, why? Like they need to go make people question. Why should I go and buy this system as opposed to just buying games online? Sony needs to answer that question because why should I? Why should I just not buy it on the computer and buy it for the PlayStation?
Yeah.
They need to come up with some sort of innovation and not some bullshit like Kinect stuff.
Okay.
No one wants to deal with that. Like Nintendo, like Xbox when they did their E3 thing and they scared off a bunch of people by saying always on multiplayer and you had to have the Kinect on and like
Yeah.
watch. Like no.
Oh, that was so bad. You had to have the Xbox always connected to the internet for you to actually use it. What if, I don't know, your internet went down and you still wanted to play your games because you couldn't do much else? You can't do that. And then the Kinect was always on with that camera always on. Like, isn't that a little Big Brother much? It's just, they do such stupid things. I mean, it's like, wouldn't somebody have raised their hand at one of those meetings and been like, boss, this might be a bad idea because of X, Y, and Z? Like, maybe people are bringing those things up and they're getting shot down, but I think there's a big disconnect from the gaming industry and the gamers. There's no, like, the biggest example of this really is Battlefront. The first two Battlefronts were fun games, shitty graphics, in today's world, but fun. Just that you could tell people made it love Star Wars and they loved games and they loved fun. The new ones you can tell are made by people that made Battlefield, that work at DICE and are trying to reskin Battlefield, and it was not as fun as the original. The graphics were pretty, of course, and the sound design was awesome. The technical stuff was there, but the gameplay wasn't there. The gameplay was bad. The technical was good, the gameplay was bad, and you gotta have both. You gotta have both. You really do. I mean, gameplay's always king. It's like with videos, content's always king. Story's always king. You gotta have that stuff down. I mean, GTA is always going to be pretty awesome. That's always going to be interesting. And there's a new game coming out called Cyberpunk 2077. I think they got the date right, which looks like a really cool game. And it's been in production a long time. They put a lot of work into it. It's going to be this open world, cyberpunk world. It's gonna have a lot of cool stuff. And it's actually gonna sound kind of innovative in terms of the way they're incorporating technology into it. But a game like that's like a one in a million. Like you're not gonna see many of those because it takes a while to make it. And Call of Duty and Battlefield have this mentality where they gotta have a new game every year. It's gotta meet that deadline. Yes, they have different studios doing them, but this idea that you
Call of
gotta.
Duty does. I don't think Battlefield does.
Oh, really? It's just once a year? Yeah, and I think Battlefield's not every year. I screwed that up. But Call of Duty, it's every year. And Assassin's Creed was, I think, every year for a while. Now they kind of took a break, and they actually had a good game with Origins. But, you gotta slow down this production line. Quality over quantity.
Yeah, like release actual games. Like, see, I think it would be nice if they released full games.
Yeah.
Again, like release full games again. They got the politics out of the games. Like, even if you're so like, I don't want to have even super conservative politics just like jammed down in games. Like,
just no politics.
Yeah, just if it's gonna be a political game, that's fine. But like, you don't need to make every fucking game have some political angle to it. Like, that shouldn't be the way it is. People don't generally like that. Maybe the game reviewers do, but the game reviewers, like, the bigwig ones, like, Game Informer sort of folks, they're not the regular people. It's, and like my forecast, I'm looking out for that new Red Dead game. That'll probably be something interesting. The Cyberpunk will probably be something interesting. I actually am looking forward to Battlefield 5.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too, actually.
It looks fine other than like the social justice aspects of it, but in general, it looks like a fine game. That's those are the big ones I'm looking forward to. But as of right now, that's kind of what I see the game world as. They're just releasing incomplete games where you have less features, in some aspects than you did a decade ago. Where you can't really sit down with your buddies and play games unless you have like another television and another game system, and another copy of the game with you, and that's just a shame.
Yeah, because I was at my one friend in at college's place, and he had two TVs set up and two Xboxes, and he's like, "Oh, my roommate plays on that one." I'm like, "Can't you do co-op?" He's like, "No." I was like, "What? Yo, what is this? Like, what? Yeah, that was like it's getting. They talk about our generation interacting with each other less. Like that's part of the problem right there. You can't even in when you do a video game, you can't even have co-op. Like I would play with my brother all the time, like on the PlayStation 2 when we were young. It's such a a basic thing, but no, gotta get more money, gotta make them buy two copies. It's just it's frustrating. Like I'm being a dead horse here, but it's like I mean it's something so basic. It's part of the experience of gaming is that you can have a friend over and play a game together. But nope, can't do that now.
Well, yeah, and then another thing too is like the Call of Duties and the Battle. They've already done just about every like major. They've done like these wars. It's like, oh, we did World War One, we did World War Two, we did Modern Warfare, we did Future Warfare.
Yeah.
Why don't they go like looking at new ground? Like there's a bunch of other wars you could do it on.
Korean War.
Hint, hint, Rhodesia. Hint, hint.
Yeah.
I'd play that.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'd be a decent bit of people who would play that. And there's just in Africa, there's like a bunch of different wars. There's Korea. That's a big one too. I haven't seen any Korean War games. I haven't seen it like that many Vietnam games. A Vietnam Battlefield a while ago, and like I guess Call of Duty kind of did that with Black Ops 1, but they still have a bunch more they could deal with. But they keep going back to these like tried and true methods, and they're just laziness. And you can't expect anything from the indie field because most of them are just like pretentious art games, anyways.
Yeah.
Because if you want to get any sort of influence, you have to make social justice games and have like a trans developer and make it just like this bullshit game you made on a shoestring budget that like nobody but the game reviewers want to play, and that's the real sad part. And they're making games for the game reviewers, not the actual gamers.
Yeah.
Like games just don't even seem as fun as they used to. Like, and that's a sad thing. Like, it's not that like I don't like games as much. It's just that there's very few like really innovative game titles. Like even Civilization. Like they don't have. They keep like not adding like important civs. They keep adding like Ashoka of the African nation of Zanzibar is now a civilization, and then they still don't have like Ireland in there. Stuff like that. I mean, maybe they do have them now. I haven't really paid as much attention, but there's a bunch of like just bullshit random civs in there, and they should be adding like major ones or like fixing the gameplay of it. Because honestly, it wasn't all that fun. It just kind of feels like Civ 5 Part 2, the new Civ 6 game.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they just sort of, the core of this problem is that the market isn't reacting the way it should. The market, the gamers, they should be boycotting games and just stop buying them. That people shouldn't have bought Battlefront 2. I'm not trying to lump you into that camp, say you should have bought it, because I'm not going to lie, they look pretty compelling, because they add a lot of cool maps, like from the prequels and all that. But you got to put your foot down at some point. You got to say, all right, you guys aren't giving me what we want, so we're not going to buy your games anymore. We're not going to buy the next Call of Duty. We're not going to buy the next Civ. And that's the only way you're going to get them to change, is where you hit them where the only place that matters, which is the money. Because that's all they care about. All they care about really is money. These big studios become... justice. Yeah, and social justice. They become obsessed. We need a Gamergate like 2.0, because they become so obsessed with profit and social justice that, it's become a cancer that you gotta stop. And nobody's doing it because they want that Call of Duty and they can't resist it. And there's a lot of big names that they gotta also buy because they gotta review, because they gotta make videos and all. And I understand that, but you have to put your foot down. And maybe that'd be a big deal if, like, let's say Angry Joe or IGN or some of these big names just said, we're not going to review such and such because for the sake of the future of the franchise, we got to boycott it.
He wouldn't do that.
I know. That's the problem.
And like people just need to stop like watching, stop dealing with that stuff. And honestly, I haven't bought that many games recently. I think the last major one I bought was Battlefield or Battlefront. Battlefront 2, and that was like a big disappointment. And that's why I haven't bought more of them because they're just terrible. Like, I
Yeah.
think you have like some people like indie guys, just start coding and shit, make something interesting, and then like crowdfund it because we have the opportunity to do that.
Well,
It's
that's what's
don't.
hard is that it's hard to have competition with these big studios because you have these massive barriers to entry. You have to have a lot of people that need to know how to do a lot of things to create these, sophisticated graphics and these engines. So it's hard to get into it and to create competition. That's why you have these AAA big studios.
Wait, but look what PUBG did. That was like an indie game when that started, and then they had like now trying to go and copy them, but it still took them so long to do that. And they already made a bunch of money. And like look at Verdun.
Yeah.
Like that was before they had any World War One simulator games, and then they had Battlefield One. Like they can beat them to the punch. They just need to go and like market that better. But they still made a decent profit from that.
Yeah, and it's because it's about gameplay. People care about the gameplay. Gameplay's king. And if marketed correctly and told to the right people, you can get it out there and you can make some decent money on it.
Like we don't all need. Everyone doesn't need to have HD like super high quality graphics. Like honestly, if the gameplay is good, I'd still play it. Like I've played retro games before. A lot of people are fine with retro games. Like Fortnite. That game doesn't look all that great.
No.
But people still play it.
Well, look at Wii Sports. Like that was the shit. Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort was like the shit because of the gameplay.
That had to deal with a lot of other factors too. So that game was like really popular. One because it was like super awesome, like couch co-op. Well, it wasn't on the couch. You had to stand up.
Yeah, you had to get your ass up.
Yeah, it was like it was a co-op game, and it was like fun and interactive. You actually got yourself moving. And like another thing was that like appealed to a market that wasn't traditionally gamers.
Yeah.
Like a lot of old people, a lot of like really young kids and families. It was a game that everyone could play, and they need to go and start innovating and like stop in this like just these terrible things like microtransactions, just trying to be like lazy. Because I think it really makes them more profit. It like super like high profits is just like keeps it's stable. It's less likely they're like super risk averse now.
Yes.
And that's why we need to go and have smaller publishers who they have a bigger risk appetite, who will be willing to go and try something interesting, who will be willing to forego the social justice influence, or God forbid, actually do something with a conservative slant on it. Because by and large, I think we're ready for it at this point.
Yeah. Make gaming great again.
Yeah, hopefully things will change, but it looks pretty grim right now. But I think that's about it for the major issues I have. For the major contentions, the major trends for gaming in 2018.
Yeah, so to sum up, the absolute state of gaming is annoying microtransactions / loot crates, annoying SJW influence and politics BS in general, the Battle Royale trendiness that has infected everything from Call of Duty to RuneScape, incomplete and broken games like Battlefront 1 and 2, and no more couch co-op, so you can't have your friend over and play with them, and physical copies and always-on multiplayer is becoming another annoying trend, and then mobile games are pretty much sucky or just not fun in general. And now gamers haven't really risen up much yet. I mean, there's definitely been outrage and controversies that have gotten some big blowback. Like I remember when on Reddit when the Star Wars Battlefront subreddit had one of the guys from EA on. They were doing an AMA, trying to resolve the controversy. He just got shit slung at him. It was like the most downvoted post on Reddit history. It's like there is that fight in these gamers, but it isn't to the point of boycott. And I think that's the biggest problem in the absolute state of gaming, is that the gamers haven't come to the point yet where they are willing to not buy a game. I think it's starting to happen, but it hasn't happened hard enough and fast enough to really have an effect. And that's what it's got to be. It's got to be it might take a Gamergate 2.0 to make it happen. And
we'll need that's I think exactly what we need. We need another gamer sort of level of rising up, because the gaming industry is just gone so far to shit. just
Yeah.
recently. It's just like not fun as like not as fun as it was like a decade ago. You know, like when you had games to look forward to, like, oh, you know, the new Halo would actually be something fun to play, possibly. Oh,
Yeah.
you know, like they had Smash Brothers that was actually fun. You know, I mean, the new one is pretty fun too, but like, you know, like they had like a bunch of games that were awesome, and you know, they didn't like EA wasn't as like ever present in everything and just like ruining stuff. Like we need that.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
they
this
were
is
at one point they were the most hated company in America. I think they're like right behind Comcast. And we're at a point where we used to cheer when games had cool new features. But now we're cheering when they announce that they don't have microtransactions.
yeah, they take away something that no one wanted to begin with. Like, you know, it's like, oh, you know, we put this cancer in here, we're gonna take it out. Woo! Thank you for getting rid of that cancer that you guys put in there. Like, no,
Yeah.
no, that's not how you should make games. It should be like about the gameplay first. It's nice to have fancy graphics, but honestly, it ain't make it or break it. I think we will need to have another major like event, so like on like even probably higher than Gamergate, because this has just gotten beyond like ridiculous. It's not even fun. Like these games aren't even fun by and large. They're just like big waste of money, and you know, like that's the thing with like Fortnite. It's like, oh, you can go and watch other people play these games. It's more fun to have them to have like watch someone than actually play the game yourself. Because most of the
Yeah.
time you're just kind of sitting there and then getting killed by some guy with a sniper rifle. Up, you know.
Yeah, that I mean, we're about to wrap this up here, but that's another like silly thing is like Twitch and people just watching people play games has become a weird phenomenon where it's like you don't even play the game anymore, you watch people play the games.
Because they ain't fun. But anyways, you know, tell us what you think. If you think it's about time for another, you know, Gamergate. If you think that it was bad to begin with, I think we have to go and do a historical lesson on that at some point in some
Yeah.
sort of format, because some people might not have been there for the original Gamergate. They might be confused because the media has a way to spin things like this, you know, racist event or whatever they want to call it, anti-trans, anti-whatever, and you know what worked with that, what didn't. But that's a story for another day. But anyways, you know, hopefully, you know, vote with your wallet. That's the
Yep.
only real way to get things to change. You know, boycott, just stop buying games, buy good ones, support ones that are, you know, not doing all these terrible things, and we might see a better world.
Yeah, boycott and unveil corruption in the gaming industry. But, you know, like, comment down below, let us know your thoughts, and as always, subscribe to the channel. We want to get in the double digits soon, at least. And share this with everybody on Facebook, Twitter. I know they're throttling us, and they're pushing us down, and Facebook, you have to boost posts and pay money to boost them to actually get your content shown to all the people that follow you. So we need you to share this stuff for us. This content's not getting out there, and mainstream media and all these fake news outlets are getting all the attention, and as Mr. Alex said, they're the ones that spin Gamergate as this sexual harassment and racist and sexist thing, you know, event, when it was actually about unveiling the man-hating SJW feminist culture that was in gaming.
All right, but yeah, we'll see you next time. You know, maybe we'll do more widespread video that everyone will kind of be affected by for the next state of video, absolute state.
Yep.
Yeah, see ya.
See ya. Peace.